Hey folks, John with Alternate Arms, your friend in less than lethal self-defense. All right, by the time you see this video, I will probably be in LA working, which sucks because I'd rather be here with you guys. But let's get it started. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I read the title and John's not going to be blowing holes in Scully or firing any kind of crazy launchers in this video. You're right. I wanted to play a little bit of catch up here. I get a lot of emails. You guys probably know this, that are different questions that are asked all the time. And some of them are shorter emails, easy to answer in one line, but some of them are quite literally novels. And it's real hard to read a novel. And I do appreciate that, guys. You're welcome to send me questions anytime you want to, but if you can, kind of cut them down a little bit because I'm going through hundreds of emails a day. And as all of you know, I do answer every single chat that's down there in the comment section. That's something that I still do, and it consumes some time, but you're worth it. That's what it is. So today I want to cover a couple of questions. Now, I just got one very recently from a viewer. Now, I'm not going to name anybody that sends the questions in. You know who you are if you ask the question. The first question was about handicap users. Say, in this particular case, the gentleman's got one arm. So he wanted to know what launchers are actually capable to be used with one arm effectively. And that actually gives you a lot of different options. In fact, not only is you have more options than you think. So anything from like the TR50 or the HDP 50. So the striker caps on the bottom. It's very simple if you have two arms to train yourself with your muscle memory to draw your launcher and strike the cap at the same time. However, if you have only one arm in that particular situation, you draw and strike it on your knee. It's very, very simple and very quick. And the reason I found out about that, you're going to laugh about this one. We were doing some demo tests. We were in the same room with a guy, and he was 20 feet away, approaching quickly. And the concept was to get the launcher out and get it on target to be able to strike the target before it actually got to you. Well, if you're pulling it out in full strike here, you've got a second or two delay right there. But when he was coming at you, he's already on top of you, your hands out, you strike it on your knee and then point straight up and you can fire directly into it. It was a very effective way to do it. So you can use the punch caps with one arm without a problem. Now, obviously there are launchers like the Salt Supply S1, the Saber, there are a couple of them on that side, and then of course the Byrna, where you are puncturing the CO2 and you are firing with one hand. So you don't actually have to have anything else except for the launcher in your hand and have it ready to go. So those are also very, very valid options. Now, to kind of tie that in a little bit, one of the other questions that I get most often is elderly folks, people that don't have great hand strength. Which launchers do they use? Now, that is going to rule out quite a few launchers because some of them, though they are ridiculously powerful, do have a 7 to 10 pound trigger pull. And we're talking about like the JPX. We're talking about even, in some cases, even the Byrna's kind of heavy on your initial pull. If you want one that is an extremely light pull, extremely, look at the Saber. Look at the Salt Supply. It's a very, very light pull, especially the Salt Supply S1. That thing, you barely feel like you're pulling a trigger at all. The Pepperball TRP, we just did that video on that one. And frankly, that trigger is so light that it kind of scares me. You literally, it barely feels like you're touching it at all, and it will fire. It really is light. So those are some good options with that. Now, the next question I get, and I get this one quite a bit when we're talking about the pepper rounds. A lot of people on the videos, you guys will see, when I'm firing at Scully or at a solid target, you will see the powder hit, and then you will see it hit and fall, right? And a lot of people are always asking, well, what does that do? If it hits a target and then falls, then, how is that effective on the target? Well, what you can't see, and this is the thing about the camera, no matter how good my camera is, and I keep trying to upgrade for you guys, is the coverage in the area. The size of the particles that are in that pepper round make a difference because the heavy particles fall, the light particles linger and expand, and it only takes those light particles to put you down. That's the whole concept. That's why when I fire any of these rounds, and you've seen me go down there and I'm coughing because it's baby powder down there, there's a cloud. When you're physically in the room, you can see it, but on the camera, it never quite translates. So the concept is when it hits, it pops up in gas, and it covers a pretty good area. 43 caliber is going to give you about 3x3, so 9 square feet. 68 caliber can get up to 10 square feet without a problem, and even more than that if you're in an enclosed area. The other thing is people ask about is wind. Can you pepper around yourself? Well, we're talking about optimal situations here. So if you are in a situation where you've got a 10 to 15 mile gust coming towards you, you are downwind from it, and you hit a target that is 10 to 15 feet away, the concept is you're not going to sit there and fire and stand there and wait, right? The concept of a less than lethal is to fire, disable the target, and get away. So you're going to fire the ground a couple times, pop, 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 turn around and leave. You're not going to sit there. Now, yes, if you sat there and the breeze was blowing right back at you in high speed, you could theoretically get yourself with some of it, but not nearly as much as the target's going to catch. That's the concept. So be careful with that. If you are downwind, know your target, know your surroundings, because situational awareness, guys, we've talked about this, is key in any self-defense situation. So know what's around you, know what the environment is, know where the threats could be, and be ready for it. But this all takes practice. It all takes practice. We've talked about that too. Now, another question that I get around pepper rounds, and this is one we are going to dedicate an entire video to. Because of the fact that we are coming into winter, and this is a big deal, people are starting to wear heavier padded clothing in winter. And one of the questions I get most often is, will a pepper round impact and explode on padded clothing, particularly jackets? Well, the short answer to that, and I already know this answer, but we are going to do a video to show you. The shorter answer is it depends on the power and the caliber of the launcher. If you're using a 43 caliber, so you're using one of the T4E line, like the Glock, Smith & Wesson, HK, whatever, they don't have enough power to effectively get through that padding and impact when it's cold outside. Because number one, you've got a lot of padding, a thick amount of padding, which is going to absorb a lot of that impact. And when you're firing anywhere from 8 to 10 joules, you're just not going to do it. You're just not going to do it unless, once again, situational awareness, you plan your target. So if you're in a situation like that and you are using them and you have to use it, you don't have an option, aim for a soft target. Soft targets are head, neck, groin, legs, knees. That's what you're aiming for. Not to mention the fact that pulling the launcher in itself is its first line of defense, because when people see it, they tend to flee from force. That's what cowards do. They flee from force. They look for people that aren't going to fight back. So keep that in mind too. Now, if you're using a 50 caliber that's been modified, we're talking HTP 50, TR 50, any of these big guys, they will absolutely rupture because the velocity on them is incredibly high and the rounds are very light, which means you're traveling really, really fast and you're getting a good impact. If you're using a 68 caliber, same thing. They will actually rupture depending on how thick the padding is, of course. You get somebody that's out there wearing a polar parka, well, that's a different video. But in general, yes, they're going to, and we will do, once again, we will do videos on that to show you that. Keep in mind though, smaller calibers, smaller launchers are going to have smaller penetration, they're going to have smaller impact, and they're also going to have smaller effect because your volume, right? The volume of a 43 caliber is considerably different than the volume of a 68 caliber. That's true. Now, another one that we're just kind of going round and round on this one, but it's very important. A guy flat asked me out at a gun show, and you guys have heard me say this 1,000 times, no matter how good the launcher is, and we're talking a Grimberg gavel that's capable of cracking your ribs, right? Asking me, well, why do I want to use a less than lethal? I want to use my real gun. I just want to kill him. Okay. Two things. If you're eager to kill a human being, you probably want to re-examine being behind the trigger of a firearm. I am a gun guy. I love guns. I love going shooting. I really do. I love hunting. I'm one of those guys, right? But at the end of the day, I have zero desire to kill a human being. I don't want to. Yes, I do understand there are situations that will call for lethal force, but a vast majority of self-defense situations won't call for that. So number one, yes, I want to use it because I have no desire to kill somebody. That's a fact. Now, a couple other options. Say you're in a state that doesn't allow you to defend yourself. And we won't mention, oh, I don't know, California, New York, New Jersey, Minnesota. Shall I go on? There are a lot of states that will not allow you to use anything to defend yourself. Therefore, you have to have an option. This is an option for states like that. Since they're not considered firearms, they're not regulated. Pepper balls are the exception. Make absolutely sure that your area will allow you to use pepper balls before you actually use them in any kind of engagement situation, because that is bad if you do use them and you're in a situation where you're not supposed to. But then again, If it's self-defense, guys, I'm a big believer in it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission because I'm being attacked. That's a fact. That being said, there's a third option. There are people that cannot have firearms, and I do not want to hear anybody in the crowd going off on this, but the reality is there are people in this country that cannot use firearms. There is no reason that a human being should lose the right to defend themselves and their families in any situation. Well, these are fantastic for people like that because they are able to be used by people that cannot use traditional firearms by law. So it gives you an option to defend yourself, your family, and your community without actually, once again, having a firearm or killing somebody. The next thing, truckers. Since they're classified as air weapons and not firearms, you can take them across state lines. That means you don't have to worry about those laws if you've got a firearm in your glove compartment and you space it out and you head on into California, and you get pulled over by the cops there, and guess what? You're now in a world of hurt. Well, with a less than lethal, you don't have that problem either, which is another huge advantage to it. And when it comes to cars, you guys have seen there are other options. Like, I mean, other than just the launchers themselves, you got like the F3 vehicle defense system and the trucker defense system and all this stuff. There are tons of options for your car, which is another huge thing. So one of the things that drives me the craziest when you're talking about less than lethal, I think that people tend to equate them. Like they'll see videos of people like Houston Jones. Okay, now I love Houston Jones, right? The guy is hilarious. For those who don't know, he's a comedian. He goes out there and he does take hits from several different pepper rounds or just kinetic rounds from different launchers, and he'll do different tasks. Like, you know, first he'll take the hit to feel the initial impact, and if it's a pepper round, he'll like set up obstacle courses and all this. But at the end of the day, he's a comedian. And you'll have people that are literally judging the impact of a kinetic round by what Houston Jones does. Guys, the dude is not a normal guy. He's not Joe Blow you're going to meet on the street. He's a bodybuilder. This guy is a beast who has made his entire career off taking hits off heavy launchers. So yeah, he's highly desensitized to it. He knows what to expect, and they're not firing him in a real world situation. Number one, real world situation, self-defense. If you have to use it, unload it. Seriously. Backing away from your target as you're firing, bam, 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 bam. Don't just fire one and wait for effect. Unload it, save yourself, and get out of there. Guys, I'm going to start doing periodic videos like this because I get a lot of questions and emails. You guys can probably imagine that. And I want to make sure that I am clarifying this. And a lot of times, particularly like the ones for the handicap and older people, these are questions I don't get from one people. I'll get from 50 people a day. So I want to be able to address these on the video. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw them down there in the discussion. I do read them. You guys all know that. I do respond to them. You all know that too. And I do respond to emails. That being said, this week I will be in LA until next Sunday. So today is I'm recording this today for you on the 8th. It's going to drop on Wednesday, and then I will be back next Sunday. So if you guys send me emails, I'll try to answer throughout the week. Obviously, if you do anything to the website, I will try to answer throughout the week. But odds are nothing is going to happen until I get back on Sunday. So have a fantastic week, guys. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.